And we're recording. We are recording live on this beautiful Sunday, February 23rd. We are back, your undisputed, reigning trios tag team champions.
Yeah, we're trios champions. We need a fourth so we can be quattros champions. Yay!
Who am I, Darby Allen?
No,
Who? Oh, that's right. He's not around right now because he's training to climb Everest. Of which all I can say to him is, "Hey, if that's what you want to do, great."
hey, kudos to him.
Is that why he's not in wrestling right now?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why
Oh
he's
my-
been off TV for the last like 2 months or whatever it is. He's finally doing the Everest climb now.
Yes.
So he's
He's
you
in
know
the-
one does not simply climb Everest. No, you have to.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, you
really
definitely
to
have to
train for
train
that,
for
but-
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, no, I completely understand. I just think that's funny that is the reason
Yes.
that he is not part of wrestling right now.
I mean, in a lot of ways, it could be a blessing in disguise because
He's not part of the stupid storylines.
right,
Great.
he doesn't have any taint of their current horrible storylines going on him right now. Not that like his
The
storylines,
taint.
not that all of his storylines have necessarily been that great to begin with,
It's tainty.
but I mean,
It's the word of the day.
Tainted love.
I think his storylines have still been a tad better than what they've been giving us recently in terms of the main storylines. Now, I will say
Yes.
this too. I know we're kind of getting off track here and everything.
We always get off track, so it's nothing
While
uncommon.
the Death Rider shit sucks, while most of the top women stuff is lacking, while anything they did with the Bucks sucks, everything they're doing with Okada sucks. I will say there are two things going on in AEW that, as a casual AEW viewer, I would say I would still have interest in. I do have interest in what they're doing with Omega and Osprey right now, though they've convoluted that now already, which we can get into later if we want to. But I gotta say that opening promo on last Wednesday night with MJF and Paige, good shit. And I don't like
Yes.
Paige that much, so that should tell you something.
That was
And MJF's been kind of shitty lately too. So,
yes. So
but
yes,
that was a good opening promo on Wednesday night.
it was.
Oh, wow, look at that. That's so much clearer. I must have had something on my camera because like everything looked fuzzy and now it looks clean. Does it
Now
look
the-
cleaner on your end?
Do I look clear and pretty now?
Joe.
No, I was thinking about the way my camera was. Like my camera looked fuzzy. Now it looks cleaner. Like when I was seeing myself in the camera. Do I look
Joe.
cleaner to you guys?
Joe, did Jeremy just admit to us that he had to wipe something off his camera?
Yes, I did.
I'm scared to even
It
know
was
what they had to
dusty.
wipe off.
I
It was
mean,
dusty. I used a
mean-
napkin and it's not wet, so
props to him for being big enough to admit that, but
Yeah, very true. So I have a trivia question for you.
I
So
forgot my trivia cards.
so the premises of this trivia question.
the
that-
premises.
Yes. Just I make up my own shit.
Premises.
I make up my own shit. Just go with it.
You combine the words
Premises.
premise and nemesis.
Yes.
Premises.
Premises of this this trivia question is my wonderful other half wanted to make fun of me the other day as we were watching TV and they brought Hollywood Squares back.
Again?
Yes.
Yes,
Oh.
it
Yes,
is
Drew Barrymore
hosted.
is one of the hosts.
Yes,
Who?
and Drew Barrymore is
Barrymore.
like the main square
Oh,
person,
okay.
and the host is former NFL wide receiver Nate Burleson, right?
Who's done work for CBS on football, right?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah.
So, I always loved Hollywood Squares. That was a fun show. So I started watching it at night, and she decided to make fun of me and say, "You are becoming an old man by sitting here on weekend night watching game shows." And you know what? They had the nighttime Price is Right. I said, you know what? We're fucking watching Price is Right now for that shit. So we watched the Price is Right. With that being said, the question came up that I'm about to ask you guys on Hollywood Squares, and I was like, I have never heard of that. Now, that phrase before, and I was like, I wonder if it is or not. The person got it wrong. No, no, that was the other one. The person actually agreed with the celebrity who said it was what the answer was. They agreed with them. They got their circle for the square, right? So here is the question to you. Is a bong cloud a move in chess?
Is a bong cloud a move in chess?
I heard the word bong cloud. I was like, what?
So, that is a really weird question.
It
Because the
was
first thing
like,
I hear first thing I think of when I hear bong is not chess.
It is for me.
uh,
Yeah.
I know. I was like, what? What? Bong cloud?
Um, I am going to say,
No Googling, Pat.
I'm not.
I'm going to say that is true, that it is a move in chess, like a strategic move. Like there's probably multiple pieces that are involved in that.
So Jeremy's saying he agrees.
I agree
Mhm.
with a
You
bong
know what?
cloud.
On face value, it sounds like the most ridiculous
Face.
fucking thing ever. Okay. But I have a feeling that this would not be something some writer backstage would create if it wasn't true. So I will also agree.
It actually is. It is called the Bong Cloud Attack. It's supposed to be a joke chess opening move, but looks like it was originated from a person called Lenny Bongcloud. Um,
Of course,
yeah.
his last name is Bong Cloud.
Well, it's okay. So I looked it up on Wikipedia now.
Yes. This
That was the username of some
yeah, of the
guy on
user.
chess.com. So it's obviously there's no way it's his real name. But
No.
the fact that
A world chess champion Magnus Carlsen used it.
yeah, I'm like the
Could have
fact
used a
that
Bong Cloud.
the fact that some
Yes.
rando on a chess thing created this and it became a thing.
Yes.
Tells you
It
how smart
was
he probably was at playing
Props to
chess.
him.
Listen, it
Um,
looks like it was meant to be like a joke as an opening move, but then people actually started using it. Some successfully, some not so successfully, but it was introduced as a opening chess move. Yeah. I found it so the way it was worded on the show was it was like Bone Cloud attack is used in what game? And that was where the person, the celebrity, I forget who it was, said chess. And I was like, chess. I'm like, hmm.
Now, see, with the celebrities, they're always like prompted as far as like the answers. Like,
Even
like,
so,
like,
I
like,
was just like,
they're
really?
they're prepped and like to know what the right answer is, and they can like I guess choose to give the right answer or give the wrong answer, and then it's up
right,
to the player to
right,
agree or
yeah.
disagree, of course. But yeah, I because
Not to
it's
say
like
that celebrities aren't smart, but some of the questions that they ask, the normal person would not necessarily know the answer.
right, it's not something that you can go expecting every celebrity in the world to just know. So it's like,
Yeah. Yeah, I found it funny. It was humorous. And I've been in, listen,
but
I'm
but
not
but it
I'm
does
not in
also
my
it does
60s yet,
also
so can't make fun of me for watching game shows at night.
yeah yeah the
Maybe different it
Wikipedia
was during the
page
day.
the Wikipedia page for the Bong Cloud attack or Bong Cloud opening. It says it's an irregular chess opening. It says it is considered a joke opening and is associated with internet chess humor. World champion Magnus Carlsen, as you said, has used it in online blitz chess, including in games against high-level opponents and Twitch streamers such as Grandmaster Ricardo Nakamura. The name has also been applied to other opening sequences in which a player moves the king on move two. So that's what makes it irregular. It's like both
Yeah, you
guys
usually
do
don't
their
move your king.
opening, pawn two moves up, and then the next move is the guy moving their king. Which, yeah, like
That's very regular.
I don't know a lot about chess, and
Neither
I'm a
do I.
terrible chess player. but I know you don't move your king on move two.
No, I don't know what the normal move for a king is as far as like move number, but most of the time if you're moving your king, you're moving into a strategic position to defend him, not to put him possibly out in the open for attack. Um,
Well, yeah, it mentions like the Bond Cloud attack violates several principles of chess strategy by foregoing castling, impeding the movement of both the queen and the light squared bishop, leaving the king exposed, and doing nothing to improve white's position.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I just found it so
so
funny, the name of it though, the Balm Cloud.
Some
That was
yeah, because again,
hilarious.
essentially some random guy on chess.com did this and it became a thing.
It's freaking hilarious.
It's unfortunate that he'll never make any money off of it.
No, no, probably not. But it's super, super funny. Super
so
funny.
I wanted to tell you guys something really funny
It
today.
just goes to show kids, you can make a difference. You just may not be compensated for it.
Yes.
Pretty much.
Um, so we had our first uh, district playoff game on Friday.
Mm, I
And
saw.
a lot of times the um, announcers only announce the head coach, like head coach, da da da, da, and that's it. Some announce the assistants. So I don't know who wrote down my name
Oh no, they
or
probably
how
butchered
bad the
it.
handwriting was that they had. My wife said she could see it and she said it was pretty bad. She's like, "Did you write your own name?" I was like, "No," because I have pretty bad handwriting. But that's usually why I don't write in cursive. I usually, yes, just write
Print
my
your name.
name and yeah, print my name. Um, and the guy introduced me as Jeremy Ver McNulty. I was like, what?
Big Nolte.
I
How
was
would I
like,
take it
Ver
McNutty at that
McNulty. I'm
point?
like, what the? My, my, one of the other assistants, he was dying. I'm like, because he doesn't have an odd last name, but it's easy to mispronounce because of the double G. Like it's an Italian last name, so
Oh my
people
God.
mispronounce the UGG in his name. So he was dying. I'm just like, what the hell was that? I just looked at my life. I'm like, eh. So the next we're back at that same facility
Oh my God.
on Tuesday. So I will go up to them and be like, this is how you pronounce my name if you are going to say the assistants' names again. So just so that you have the right pronunciation.
Here's how you spell my name also. You want me to write it down for you?
Here's how you spell my name.
Oh, it is
To
hilarious.
steal a joke from South Park, Suckmyballs.
I don't want to
Suck my
suck
balls.
balls today.
Yeah, so that was the highlight of the moment. We did win that game as Pat, I don't know if you saw it on Facebook. I did post it
Mm,
on Facebook.
The buzzer
And
beater.
yes,
yeah.
the buzzer beater.
I saw the buzzer beater. That's got to be a great feeling. Even, it's like, oh, it's just, high school game or middle school game or JV game, whatever. No, it's still great to be on the winning side of that. I remember one of my
Yes.
first youth basketball games when I was in like fifth or sixth grade. Like our team was split into two teams that day to play whoever it was we were playing. I think it might have been a team in like Bangor or Rosetto or something like that. And the second game, uh I think the game was either tied or our team was down by one. I wasn't playing in this game. I had played in the first game. And the other team like missed a free throw or a shot. One of my, teammates got the rebound and threw like a football pass down the court because for some reason one of our other players had gotten past everybody, like it was like completely unnoticed, and he's like wide open as time's like running out. He catches the pass, almost stumbles and trips, but he gets the layup in at the buzzer, and we won the game. And so, it's like,
It's
even though I
always good
wasn't playing the
stuff.
game, it was still like my teammates and everything. It was still, it's
Oh,
a great
100%.
feeling, yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
that was
Yeah.
cool. That was cool to see that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
was. That was
Well,
awesome.
and my hope is that the excitement and the energy from that carries over to Tuesday. We'll see. We'll see. We got a tough opponent on Tuesday for sure.
Who do you guys play?
Pottsville.
Mm, okay.
and they are historically good, and they were the number one seed in our bracket. So
They're
Ah,
from
gotcha.
further south too, right? They're really not Lehigh Valley, right?
no, they're not Lehigh Valley. They're District 11 though, so
Yeah.
that we still end up having to play them.
Yeah,
Um,
the
the
district
team that we
map is still
played,
so weird.
the team that we played was actually, and actually Pottsville is kind of because Pottsville's near Blue Mountain, and Blue Mountain is out for you can get there through 443 and 879 or 978 or something, whatever the hell road that is. I don't know. My wife drove it the other day. Um, but we took 78 to get there. 78 to get off at what the hell exit did we get off of? I can't even remember. It was past New Smithville. Oh, we got off at 63. That's where we got off. We got off at 63 where the Cabela's is. Or is that
Mm,
61?
61
I
is
think that
Cabela's.
61 where the Cabela's is. We got off that and just took that for fucking ever. But yeah, they're definitely they're west, not south. They're west, maybe slightly south, but more west
West
in the
side.
middle of
Yeah.
freaking nowhere. um, what the heck was I gonna say? Now I completely forgot what I was gonna say. You interrupt me, Pat. You made me think too much. Oh, the team that we were playing though was from District 4, because District 4 doesn't have enough 5A teams, so they had a sub-region in our area to have enough 5A teams. So that they were a
Interesting.
qualifying District 4 team.
The
So
whole district thing is just fucking mind-boggling. Just Pennsylvania has made it so fucked up
yes, high
and
school
so
sports is very like
convoluted. It's ridiculous.
yeah, they should my personal opinion is they should do away with districts and just go right into the state tournament and pick the best teams the first and second place from the different leagues and just put them in there in their classification, or maybe the top three teams from those, um, actually no, they don't even have to. I would say the top two, the the, the conference winner or league winner and the runner up. But they like
Just
to,
so weird.
yeah, they like to make a big thing about the districts and stuff like that. I think the districts is cool, but that's only because I'm coaching that right now. And if had we not made districts, we would not have been playing anything right now.
Yeah, true.
So, so
Very true. Very true.
yes. All right. So, what is our topics of today, there, Joe? So we can
Oh,
actually get on with the real show.
a real show. You call this real? I'm not sure how real it could be at times. Um, so first, I don't know how much of you guys watch anything of the NBA slash NHL Four Nations All-Star Weekend ish, week and a half.
Did I
So
didn't watch any of it. I got updates about who was winning though.
yeah, I mean I barely watch the NBA, so I don't bother with any of the NBA All-Star stuff because um this is a problem that's been happening is like All-Star games seem to inherently suck. And I
They
mean
do.
football has basically done away with theirs, you
Yeah, they
know.
turned it into flag football. It's
Yeah,
fantastic.
and they have all the skills competitions and whatever, but to me that's a waste of time. That's not something I'm going to be interested in watching. And obviously the last few Pro Bowls that were played were getting increasingly unwatchable. So I admire them for changing it up, but again, they didn't change it to something that has any appeal to me. As far as the NBA, we always know the NBA All-Star game is going to be like 160 to 153, and it's like it's supposed to just be entertaining, but it's like it's also to the point of ridiculousness. The NHL All-Star game was also always unwatchable too, because again, the game would be like 10-8, and it's like that's not a real
Yeah, there's
hockey
no
game.
checking, no nothing,
Yeah.
because guys
The
don't want to
only
get hurt
the
playing the All Star game.
This is why, even though they've had to tweak it and they try to add artificial meaning to it, which they've thankfully scrapped, this is the reason why people will still go back to the MLB All-Star game because you can't really fake that. You
No.
can't really half-ass that. You can to a certain extent. Like everybody will say Chan Ho Park grooved the pitch to Cal Ripken to hit the home run in his last All-Star game, and that's fine. That gave a great moment everybody I think wanted to see. But baseball is still baseball. It's like the hardest thing to do in sports is to hit a batted ball.
Mhm.
And that still remains the same in the All-Star game. And I still don't ever really, while it is still just a glorified exhibition game, I still don't really ever say, can remember Chan Park notwithstanding, because that was over 20 years ago now. Too many instances of where you can see guys half-assing it, or guys not like trying, you know? So that's good. Now the whole Four Nations thing, I got to admit, to me, it's like the World Baseball Classic. I think it's trying to make something and putting nationalistic pride on the line, and I am so over shit like that and have been for a long time that I just
America.
yeah, that I just didn't really care. And the fact that there was that first US Canada game, they had 3 fights in the first 10 seconds was kind of ridiculous. And I think the thing became unintentionally, but inescapably political because of
The tariffs.
certain things that have been going on lately.
The tariffs, of course.
Very
Well,
true.
not just the tariffs. Trump saying Canada's going to be the 51st state.
Yeah, there's a lot of things, but
So
yes,
I can understand Canadian fans booing the national anthem, the United States national anthem,
of course.
as like just like a statement of protest, if you want to even call that, because it is. I mean, it's so stupid, but the whole concept of we're going to make Canada the 51st state is even dumber. So,
Yeah.
and then the Kachucks are out there saying, "Oh yeah, the booing of the anthem definitely inspired us or whatever."
That so yes.
Those guys are
The one
instigators,
thing
and that's what their roles are. That's what they
Right,
like to
that's my
do.
whole point. I'm like, yeah, and it's like,
They're just
why are you
playing into
guys
it.
such dirty players? You know, it's like they're usually always on the top of the list of like, dirty players in the NHL. So
Yeah, I didn't understand the booing of the national anthem, like the lack of respect just for either country. Like if it would have come from the American fans booing the Canadian national anthem, like I would not agree with that. Like I don't understand those type of things. Like it's a national anthem. You don't have to like it, but you don't have to boo it either. Like there's no need to boo somebody else's national anthem. You're all playing hockey. That's if you want to boo the American team because they're the American team and you don't like the American team, fine. But you don't boo their national anthem. That's kind of disrespectful on all sorts of levels.
I
So
mean,
if that fired the American team up to go out and beat the shit out of the Canadians in the first time they played them, I'll take it. Because they did what, win 3-1 in that
Yeah.
game, and the Canadians were in an uproar about losing to America. Like, well, fuck you.
well, I
But
mean,
they ended us
My
beating it.
point.
well,
They ended up beating us the other night. So
yeah, the Canadians got their revenge.
But
So
it had to didn't it come have to come to a shootout,
overtime.
that was overtime.
overtime
Mhm.
win.
I don't think they
Yes.
would have done a shootout for that.
No, the rules were straight up
Yeah.
multiple overtimes like playoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and 5-on-5 overtime, unlike the
Correct.
3-on-3 overtime that we get in the regular season now, which,
Correct.
um, look, I've said this before and I'll say it again. The playing of national anthems before sporting events is still, in my view, one of the dumbest things that exists. I don't get why. There is no need for it. It's forced patriotism, but it's like, but why? Why are we doing this? I don't stand up and have to, it's like something that they ingrain in you like from fucking childhood. They make you say the goddamn Pledge of Allegiance in school every morning. It's like, Lewis Black once did a routine about how the Pledge of Allegiance itself is ridiculous and saying that by the time you're actually old enough to really understand and contemplate the words of the Pledge of Allegiance, you don't have to say it anymore, you know.
Mm.
But it's like when you and I go to work, we don't have to stand up and listen to the playing of the national anthem before we start doing our job. So it's always been weird that athletes do.
Yeah, I don't know what started that.
One
I
day
don't
I'll look
necessarily
it
agree
up.
or disagree with it, but I don't know when it actually started, like when that became the
Mhm.
thing to do before a game. Because it happens at high school level too. Like high school level, they play the national anthem before the start of any game. So I'm not sure when that became a thing for sporting events.
Okay, well, I may have found something here.
Yeah, okay.
So here's an article from a few years ago that's on history.com, as in, historychannel.com.
Mhm.
Why the Star Spangled Banner is played at sporting events. The tradition began during a time of national sorrow.
Oh,
Oh dear, that's already a red flag.
So I can't wait to hear the time frame of the national sorrow.
This day in history.
God damn it. Hold on.
Damn History Channel, get your videos off my feed.
Well, yeah, it started playing automatically. All right, so blah 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 blah. The answer, it turns out, has to do with World War One. Baseball fans in the late 19th century might have heard live military bands play the Star Spangled Banner at a game every so often, but the song, which hadn't yet been designated as the national anthem, wasn't really a common occurrence at sporting events. That began to change on September 5th, 1918, during Game 1 of the World Series between the Red Sox and the Cubs. Imagine the World Series starting in early September. It was an era when the Red Sox still had Babe Ruth, and the phrase of the last time the Cubs had won the World Series wasn't yet a joke. In fact, the two teams had won 6 of the last 15 World Championship titles. Well, that's actually the first 15. Yet, even though the event featured two teams at the top of their games, the crowd was somber that day, writes ESPN, the magazine. Since entering the Great War a year and a half ago, or a year and a half prior, more than 100,000 U.S. soldiers had died, and just a day before the game, a bomb had exploded in Chicago, the city in which the game was held, killing 4 people and injuring dozens more. I did not know that.
Mhm.
In addition, the U.S. government had recently announced that it would begin drafting MLB players, something that probably didn't take off because the war ended in 1918. All this sat heavy on the shoulders of both the players and the smaller than usual crowd of fans that day. But during the seventh inning stretch, not before the game, the U.S. Navy band began to play the Star Spangled Banner, and something changed. As the song began, Red Sox infielder Fred Thomas, who was in the Navy and had been granted furlough to play in the World Series, immediately turned toward the American flag and gave it a military salute, according to the Chicago Tribune, which, since he was in the service, you can understand. Other players turned to the flag with hands over hearts, and the already standing crowd began to sing. At the song's conclusion, the previously quiet fans erupted in thunderous applause. At the time, the New York Times reported that it marked the highest point of the day's enthusiasm. The song would be played at each of the series' remaining games to increasingly rapturous response, and patriotism played a part right from the start, as the Red Sox gave free tickets to wounded veterans and honored them during the playing of the Star Spangled Banner before the start of the decisive Game 6, which, again, you got to admit, is a pretty nice gesture.
Yes, it is.
Mhm.
Other baseball parks began to play the song on holidays and special occasions, and Red Sox owner Harry Frazee, also notorious for selling Babe Ruth to the Yankees, thanks, made it a regular part of Boston home games. The Star Spangled Banner officially became the U.S. national anthem in 1931, and by the end of World War II, NFL Commissioner Elmer Layden ordered that it be played at every football game. The tradition quickly spread to other sports, aided by the introduction of large sound systems and post-war patriotism. The anthem's adoption also gave way to a new American pastime, almost as beloved as the sport itself, complaining about people's behavior during the national anthem. By 1954, Baltimore Orioles general manager Arthur Ehlers was already bemoaning fans he thought disrespected the anthem by talking and laughing during the song. It's a silly song. Ehlers very briefly stopped playing the anthem altogether before relenting to pressure and reinstating it a month later. So, two things for me on that. One, yeah, it also once again proves that when you make decisions from positions of sadness or anger or duress, they're usually not good decisions, And it seems like it's something that kind of just happened and it took on a life of its own, which
Seems like it.
right, which there is a parallel. Hold on, I gotta look it up so I get the right in things. So you guys are familiar with the Alleluia chorus?
Yes. I am.
Okay. Yeah, it's from George Friedrich Handel's Messiah. So whenever I was when I was growing up and I was in like grade school or high school, and I started having to go to like the concerts because my older sister was in it or whatever, the chorus, the high school chorus, would always close every concert, no matter, every year with the rendition of the Alleluia chorus. And everybody stood up when they started when they started singing the Alleluia chorus. And that's because of something that happened when it was performed live in front of the king. And I'm trying to find which freaking king it was, and I'm having problems doing that. But basically what it was is that it was being performed publicly. I don't know if it was for the first time or whatever, but whoever the king was at the time, and I don't even remember which country it was where this happened, if it was England or if it was a different country, but the king was like so moved by the music that he stood up. And because the king stood up, everybody else felt compelled to stand too. Because if the king's doing it, then I need to do it too.
Of course.
And it seems like that's just like a tradition that's just persisted. And again, I don't think most people really know why, but they just know that they're supposed to do it. So to me, that's almost like why we play the national anthem then, because we just started doing it, and so now it's just kind of expected. And I know it'll never change because, like it said there would definitely be people who would be complaining that they didn't do it if they stopped doing it. So, but I'm sorry, I just find it to be a little on the silly side. That's all. So, and the Star Spangled Banner, again, there's, something that I think a lot of people forget. There are other verses to the Star Spangled Banner. And in one of those verses, there's like a comment about slaves who decided to fight for the British in the War of 1812. And it's not, as you might expect, complimentary. So, the song has some issues, if you ask me. So,
Which song?
the Star Spangled Banner.
Oh, okay.
In like the third verse of the Star Spangled Banner, there's like a line about the slaves who decided to fight for the British in the War of 1812 because they were hoping to be freed, obviously. And it's a negative statement. So
Hmm.
I'm not even going to bother to look it up to say it because it's
So let me
That's
let me
okay.
backtrack here because we got
Oh.
way off base of what I really wanted to talk about.
yeah, we did. I don't know how that happened. It wasn't my fault.
What I was really wanted to talk about is the state of all-star games in general. Um,
We already
for
covered that. Didn't you hear Pat
I was going
talking?
to say I did kind of mention that because I thought maybe that's where you were going, but
10 seconds of it. Okay.
all
Somehow that
All-Star
turned into
games
the
suck
Hallelujah
except
chorus.
baseball.
Did you guys hear what PK Subban said on Get Up the other day?
I try to pretend that he doesn't
Yes.
exist, so
I did. I actually did hear what PK Subban said. I
but
watched
yeah, I
that clip
did
that you
not. So
sent.
you'll have to enlighten me because yeah, I don't like him. So
I understand why you do not like him, but I actually agree with him on this topic
I'm not saying I'm
because
going to disagree, but
I have the clip. I'm going to play it because I'm
okay.
Yay! Play
curious
the
too.
clip.
The clips.
We'll give our
Let's
citizens. We don't own this clip. We're using this for entertainment purposes only to educate and debate about. Hopefully that gets us clear. Probably not because they don't give a
Yeah.
shit. They just look at the clip and they'll say, "Yeah, that's a copyright infringement."
Yeah, if you give us a copyright block, we will do something about it, which is stamp our feet.
Yeah, let's see if all right, let me see.
Because PK Subban was
He's a
a
former
what player?
player.
Former player of what? Hockey?
Yeah.
No. Okay.
All right, can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
And I'm just going to say this right off the bat. He has an oddly shaped head. I noticed that when I was watching the clip before. I was like, this dude got a weird shaped head.
I'm trying not to make a Jeremy mistake here.
Oh, thanks.
I'll say I think I'd be offended by that, Jeremy.
Let me
Taking it
know if you
personally.
could hear this.
Heard what Giannis says. He
Yes.
said, "Hey, I think what we
Okay. So, as we all know, the NBA All-Star Game has been a shit show for a long time.
It's a freaking joke.
LeBron added to that this week.
Yes, he did. We definitely could talk about that too. He added to it. But with that being said, the game has been a glorified pickup game, street ball game that has no realistically fun aspect of it. I thought it was a good thing to create the four teams. The only thing that downside to me is not to go against this, the young team that Candace Parker coached. But to be honest with you, there was enough snubs from the original All-Star selection where you could create those guys could have been used for the fourth team. I really think it should really just be if they're going to go with this format, do the 4 teams, and see how it goes for a couple years, or do a US versus world format. There's enough European players in the NBA where you can pick a US All-Star team and a European All-Star team. And that would be very interesting. I mean, I understand where they did the 4 teams because that's pretty much what the NHL does, 3-on-3, which is better because it's better than the old non-checking All-Star game. And it is true because the NFL has gone to shit. And baseball is really the only sport that you could really say is, worth watching as an actual all-star game. I personally like the Four Nations besides the political aspects of it, just because I watched, I think, 5 of the games, and those guys were playing their asses off like they were Game 7 of the Stanley Cup. So they were invested. And those hockey players normally do have pride when it comes to anything they do. But as that goes on,
I did hear, sorry to interrupt, but I
Go.
did hear a complaint about the Four Nations thing, about the fact that Russia was not one of the Four Nations. And I get that, but come on. We know why.
yeah, I mean, and they could have been categorized under a different team name, but I think it's one of the aspects where they wanted to see how well the Four Nations was going to go. Plus, the TV viewership was sky high for this, for the NHL, which is great. And then this is kind of a lead into, we have the Winter Olympics next year in Milan. So we have that going on in February next year
Ooh,
too.
they're gonna have a fashion show too at the same time. Fashion show in Milan.
I think it might be saying, I think, but like Milano or whatever it is, and it could be the wrong city. It's Milano,
It's
Milan. I don't
okay.
fucking know. I don't
When you
know.
say
Whatever.
Milan, I just know the fashion show, the big fashion show they
Yeah.
got in Milan.
So, they had the Winter Olympics next year, and they're really trying to get back into the international aspect for hockey, the NHL players in general. So I feel like they might do this kind of format because it was notated that they might expand this to 6 teams the next time they do it. So we'll see if this is more of a new all-star aspect, doing like the nation's all-star break or not. We'll see what they decide to do. But I think it's something different, and it worked for them. They made money off of it. They had a lot of viewership. But here's what PK Subban had to say about when asked, because this has been the hot topic, what could the NBA do to make their All-Star weekend better?
How
And
about what can they do just to make the NBA watchable again?
that's a whole different
about
another
that?
topic we could talk about for like ever. So here is the clip from PK Subban on Get Up the other day.
we should do is, let's say, the world take on the American players in the NBA, kind of somewhat sort of what are you doing in the NHL? What do you think?
Well, listen, hockey's a different sport from the NBA. You can't compare the cultures because of the way the game is played. You can step on an NBA floor and go through the emotions. You can't do that in hockey. You can't. Like the culture of our sport, you have to play it with passion. You have to be willing to fight. You have to be willing to leave it on the ice. That's what fans are investing in. So for us, when we charge $1,500 for a ticket to come to fans know what they're getting. Cale Makar, the best defenseman in the world, wasn't in the lineup for this game. This was the most viewed game that we've had in years. And you see it, it's because it's not just based on the skill and talent. It's based on the pride, honor, playing for the guy next to you. I got a question for the NBA players. What the hell are you playing for? What are you playing for? It's not about the money. You make all the money. What, you're injured? Well, there's a difference between being hurt and injured. Are you hurt or are you injured? There's a difference. In hockey, we play hurt. We play injured. That is the culture of the sport. It's always been that way. So you want to talk about the business, the CBA, fans get all of that. But what do fans resonate with? They resonate with what's real. You got to fight sometimes for your country. You got to compete. You got to go out there and leave it on the ice because those people are paying the price of admission. So fans know whether our stars are on the ice or not, they're getting their money's worth. The NBA has that issue that they got to work on. You got to create a better culture for your players. It starts with the leaders. This issue, there was no issue when Jordan was around. There was no issue when Kobe was around. There's no issue when Sidney Crosby's around. There's no issue when Wayne Gretzky was around because those are true leaders. They lead by example. Sidney Crosby, Hockey Canada, those players.
Whoop, hold on.
players, both Canada and U.S. It was the players that did that for the four nations. That's not the league. The league set it up, but the players went out there and decided and said, you know what, boys? We're all in. When is the NBA going to do that? Because, I haven't sat down and watched the NBA consistently since Kobe. Since Kobe has died, I have not sat down and watched the NBA consistently. I love basketball, love the players. I think LeBron's great. I think KD's great. Steph Curry, love watching them. But you got to be on the court. You got to be there, and when you're there, you got to go all in. The fans got to feel that they're getting their money's worth. And right now, there's a big difference between what the NHL's doing with those events and what the NBA's doing. Four Nations works because the players are all in.
So the thing that I found interesting is he made reference to the era of Jordan and the era of Kobe. And you can even take that a step further and go back to the era of Magic and Bird when those guys played, because they were at the tail end of their career when Jordan started playing. It's
Well, not really, but yeah.
well, they were not in their prime anymore.
No, they still were, because Jordan came in the league in '84. I mean,
Okay,
Magic
so
were
let
still
me
their primes in
rephrase it then.
84.
When Jordan became the man,
Yes.
they were at the tail end. They were already done with all their championships. They were done. Jordan was a rookie when they were still winning championships and stuff like that, when they were still competing for championships.
Yeah.
So, it's interesting because guys treated what they did in the NBA, and I'm not saying that these guys don't have passion in the NBA, but there has definitely been a culture shift in regards to this whole BS about load management and, I hurt my finger so I can't play, and there's dirt in my eye so I got to sit out, all these. I know that's a little extreme, but you didn't hear about guys not playing games because of a hurt finger or back pain. Bird played probably half his career, I think, with an injured back, and you didn't hear him complain about it. He might have complained about it in the locker room, but you didn't hear him complaining to the media. You didn't hear him complaining about this. He went out there and played. Jordan played with what they call the flu game. We don't know if it was really flu or if he was
It's more food poisoning. But with Jordan, when he came back and played with the Wizards that one whole season, he played with a bad knee. It had it drained every single game. But yet he was going out there and busting his ass at 40 years old.
Yeah, and you don't see that level of dedication because it has become not the love of the sport anymore. And I'm not saying that some of these guys don't love the sport. I believe that there is a large majority that do. But the NBA has become this money cash cow for these players. It is all about their money. It is all about their brand. It is not about playing basketball for the love of basketball and going out there and earning your paycheck by playing in 82 games or as many games as you can play where you are not actually injured. Not I'm hurt, my elbow hurts, so I can't go out there and play. And I get it. They want to be safe. They're protecting their investments and stuff like that. Where the fuck was this protect my investment when these guys were going out there in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s? Where was that protection of investment? Because they sure the hell didn't look after these guys then. And I'm not saying that they needed to. But the investment was putting those guys on the floor because that's what put asses in seats. That's what got people to tune into the TV channel that the team was playing on. I don't watch the NBA because I don't want to watch Embiid fall on the floor and go, "Ow, I'm hurt," and now I have to sit out the rest of the game or be out for a game because of load management. I will not watch the NBA. I saw a clip of Embiid. He flew through the air to try and block some guy's shot. He missed terribly and flew off the screen and landed in one of the concourse areas on the floor. And I think he was out the rest of the game. It's like, I'm not going to watch that. One, why the fuck as a professional athlete are you jumping at the shot like that? The guy just caught it. He looked at you fly by because he's like, what the hell are you doing? He didn't even look like he was going to shoot the ball. He probably was, because that's what the NBA's turned into too, is a 3-point contest in every game. But it's just that is the stuff as a basketball fan, and I don't. And if anybody's out there like, oh, he just wants it to play, I don't want it to be played like the '80s. The '80s basketball was boring to watch. Okay, I'll admit that right off the bat. It was boring to watch because it was just a bunch of guys trying to beat each other in the paint. You know, the way that the NBA is set up now is definitely more exciting to watch, but it is also some of the sloppiest basketball that you see. It is some of the most undisciplined basketball you see. It is a lot of one-on-one bullshit. It
ISO
is
this, ISO
guys,
that.
so many guys fall on the floor, guys acting like they're injured. LeBron, he gets slapped in the head and he looks like he's gotten punched in, like he got punched with a full force punch right to the back of the dome, like selling everything, taking plays off, not even playing defense. You would have never seen that. Kobe would have never, ever thought of taking a play off. And you're talking about somebody who played in the 2000s, not that far removed. God rest his soul, not that far removed from what we're seeing now.
Mhm.
But you would have never seen him take a play off.
It's the brand, as the years and decades go on and all sports evolve in some manner, good and bad. Um, the brand is very popular with a lot of sports. It seems to be extremely popular with basketball, in general. And people will criticize anybody saying that they're not playing for the love of the game because they'll be like, "Oh, we love the game, this, that, next thing." But it's hard to take them at full value when they say that based off how they play, what the times they take off, the comments they say, in interviews, the things they post on social media, this, that, and the next thing. It kind of contradicts when you say, "Well, I love playing basketball." Do you really? Because A, B, C, D that you just did in the past year kind of tells me that you're kind of just playing because you like it and it gives you a good paycheck and you could support your family for a long time and you're good at the sport. So you're just kind of using the sport to get somewhere, which I get, but the love and passion doesn't seem to be there for a lot of players, in regards to that. And it's kind of
And I,
like I feel like basketball is the worst at it. Um, I feel like football is trending that way to a certain extent with a handful of players. And I think hockey and baseball are still,
thanks, Aaron
okay.
Rodgers.
I think baseball and hockey are still good in regards to players not going down that road. You could say some of it's Aaron Rodgers, but I'm gonna throw Dallas Cowboys under the bus. I'll throw some other teams under the bus and some players too
Well, in
with
Dallas, the
their
Dallas Cowboys is a pure reflection of Jerry Jones and the way the culture that he's built in that company over the decades.
and there's other players too that if you really pay attention, you can see them kind of trending down the road of how NBA players treat the name brand um situation in regards to that. So it's just it is hard to watch basketball. I still watch the NBA. I don't really enjoy it because it doesn't matter what team is on the floor. It's the same thing. It's like everyone plays the same way. No one has their own identity. Like even when Kobe played his last couple years, the Lakers played this way. The Bulls played this way. The Knicks had this style. The Utah Jazz played this way. The Toronto Raptors played this way, you know, and then you had like real legit games when it came time for those teams to meet. Now it's just like you get on the court, who can shoot threes better, who can play ISO better. No one plays fucking defense. They just let everybody fucking, fly down the fucking hole and fucking dunk. And I guess where I get upset when this is a whole LeBron thing. I'm not gonna go on that, but when I see, oh, he's 40 years old doing a windmill. Yeah, no shit, because no one's fucking contesting the goddamn basket. No one gives a fuck anymore. There's no shot protectors. If there is, no one really fucking protects the fucking rim anymore anyway. So what's the point? It's very rare. So it's just I just don't feel like the NBA is just like on a different level of I just don't know how much these players really care about the game. Um, Based off like the All-Star weekends, it seems to be less and less. They're trying to change the concepts. I mean, how many times since they've gone away from the normal format have they changed how All-Star weekend works, like the All-Star game itself? They've
Mhm.
done it a couple times now, and they have not been able to find a good formula.
Yeah,
Um,
it's just it's one of those things that I will the NBA is never going to be what it used to be, and that's fine. It doesn't have to go back to being what it used to be,
and I
but there needs
accept
to
it,
be
but
there needs to be something in the culture itself that says, you know what, we as players are no longer going to accept this. We will not tolerate this as players. The flopping, you know, that should be something as a player you should not tolerate. I understand there is going to be embellishment of getting hit. I get that cuz I don't want to say it's taught, but it is definitely not discouraged even at the high school level. Okay? If you've got to sell a little bit to get, if you did get hit on the arm, guys sell it. And we're not going to sit there and tell them, don't do that. You know, but we do tell them to play through the contact. Where the NBA, they get touched, and it's like they're selling to the fact of like a WWE wrestler, like
they're like a
getting
soccer
hit,
player getting
or a
tripped.
soccer player. It's like
You
it's gotten
touched
to the
my
extent
pinky and I
where,
fall to the ground and hold it in my hand like you just broke my wrist.
yeah, like it's just over the top. Like NBA players need to hold themselves accountable. Teams need to hold their players accountable to being better in regards to what they're putting on the floor. And like you said, having an identity. Why teams don't have, like you said, teams don't have an identity. What is your identity as far as
Shooting
the
threes.
kind of plays that you run, the kind of players that you will be as a team, what kind of team you will be, what is your identity? Like that's what we try to encourage at the high school level. And you see it at the college level. High school and college level teams have an identity. We're a down low, we're a beat you up physical team. Or we're a finesse team, or we play gritty, there's all kinds of different acronyms and adjectives you can throw in there. With the NBA, like you said, all we see is who can get down the floor fastest, who can get the most fast breaks, who can jack up the most threes, who can do the best ISO ball. There for a while, Golden State, I appreciated Golden State because they were one of the few teams that still ran a team focused offense where they moved the ball, there was cuts, there was screens. Not to say that that stuff doesn't exist, but it doesn't exist as it used to. Like you don't see it. Like
Not in the true fashion that it's supposed to be played in.
even with JJ Redick, they like to run a lot of horn sets. You don't see a lot of screens off those horn sets. They're the guys don't get in the way of anybody. They run all it is the guy makes the guy run around him a little bit further. But those guys are so fast it doesn't really make a difference. Like there's no body contact on a screen. A lot of times there's no body contact on a screen in the NBA. I don't know if that's because the guys don't know how to set screens. Guys are better at getting around screens.
They don't know how
I,
to
I
set
don't
them.
I don't know. It could be both. But it's just not there. And horn sets is a big thing right now at all levels, like running a horn set for offense. So it's just interesting. But if you ask the NBA commissioner and anybody else, they'll probably be like, "There's nothing wrong." Well, then why are your ratings down? Your viewership is way down from previous years.
Dude, you want to hear something for ratings? Here's the funniest thing. Over the weekend, Judge Judy had better ratings than the All-Star game. The NBA All-Star game, I think, got like 4.7 million. Judge Judy had more than that. She had over 5 million for a Judge Judy show. And they were like showing like all the other events that happened over the weekend that had better ratings than the NBA. And that's not good because in that the NBA never used to be like that.
Judge Judy still on?
Yep.
Oh yeah, she has a new show. She was off for a while, now she has a new one. She just can't get away. But yes, the NBA is the worst of the sports right now. As far as how they go about playing their game and everything else. It's why it makes me laugh, like just because the NBA had like one good game on Christmas Day and LeBron comes out, the NBA is still our day. The NBA, Christmas Day is still ours or whatever he said. I'm like,
You're the only
really?
thing on.
Really? Well, the NFL, even though they were on streaming services, blew you out of the water with the ratings, bro. More people watch the football games than they cared about the NBA games on Christmas Day, unfortunately. And that is a tall telling tale right there for you. 100%. 100%. Yeah, I just kind of wanted to bring that in. I just found it interesting. I've just been reading a lot about it since the All-Star games, breaks for both sports have been going on. And, just kind of think about like the last time I really watched a good All-Star game it's been a long time. Probably since the last couple years Kobe was in the league, to be honest. And that's pretty sad if you want to look at it in that way. But I guess enough of that. We can move on to our next topic of discussion. And who will be challenging us for the CWA Trios Tag Team Championships?
So, real quick. Now, I don't know how accurate this is because this is the best source I could find, Wikipedia. But it breaks down the NBA finals. Okay. So, and it's ABC's because ABC always has the NBA finals.
Rumors, yeah.
So just looking here, so 2019 when the Raptors played Golden State, do you remember that finals?
Yep. Goes with
Okay,
Kawhi.
so their viewership was, so I'm not sure what the 8.8 means. I'll just go by the millions of viewers. So 15.1 for game 1, 13.5 for game 2, 14 for game 3, 13.4 for game 4. Game 5 was 13.6. Game 6 was 18.3, and then Game 7 was 18.3. Okay. Now compare that. Now next year you had the 2020 COVID year, so that was garbage. That was also the year the Lakers won it and nobody cared. So we'll just go to last year's Dallas against Boston. Okay. 11.3 for game 1, 10.9, so 11 for game 2, 12.3 for game oh no, that was the average. I'm sorry. That was the average I was reading. Sorry. Game 1 was 11. Game 2 was 12.3. Game 4 was 11.4. Game 4 9.6, and game 5, because that was the game that was going to win it, was 12.2. That is huge in the millions of viewership.
Yeah, numbers are down. So we'll say not that much, but it's still like when you're
Significant
losing
enough.
when you're losing a couple million viewers per game, it's still not good.
Yep, because that took between those averages. I'm guessing this is like the percentage of rate. Like I'm guessing these 5.7s would be the percent rating. So
Yeah.
game 1 for both of those, it went for Toronto and Golden State was 7.9 compared to 5.7. That's a huge percent of viewership. So it's just crazy. Like people are disinterested because nobody, I don't want to say nobody cares, but the interest is being lost for sure.
And this season,
that's just finals ratings.
and this season, the viewership is down overall for the NBA in all markets, no matter what team it is. Some might be still on par, but as an overall, the ratings are down. Like people are not tuning into the NBA like they were the last couple years. And I think they're just getting bored of what the product is that they're seeing on TV.
Yep, I can agree with that.
It's pretty much what's happening. And and unfortunately, I don't I've seen some podcasts where the players are kind of trying to, talk their way out of that or explain why or whatever. It's like, guys, your product is not that great to watch. You all do the same thing. It's the same thing. It's cookie cutter, really. So yeah, that's why the viewership is down. They want big men shooting threes. They want everyone playing ISO basketball for the one-on-one, this, that, and the next thing. Oh, okay. That's what you're going to get until your viewership gets lower and lower, if it does. then you're going to have to figure out how to change it.
The greatest thing that I saw, it was Embiid against Wemby, and Embiid gave Wemby just a little bit of body, and Wemby fell so hard to the ground. It was freaking ridiculous. Like the biggest flop I've ever seen. I was like, really? He barely touched you, and you fell way too hard to the floor.
It's what they teach, man. It's what they teach.
Like,
It's unfortunate.
so
That
it was
is
crazy. But anyways, yes, let's go on to the trios tag team.
who's going to challenge us for the Trios Tag Team Championships. Yeah. We got
Anybody.
Neo, Rad, Jay, and then we've kicked Sin out of the trios. We brought in Darth Pat because he was a more comparable replacement.
He doesn't ever get in the ring though. He just walks around the outside looking menacing.
Yeah, he makes us do all the work. Slacker. We do all the work and he comes in for the pin.
And I
Typical big man
just
shit.
my big move is the gasser now. Run the ring and fart on people.
The reason I bring that up, I think I thought of that the other day, a while back. I had gotten a Nintendo 64 last year, and I had one of the wrestling games. It was WrestleMania 2000. And it's the one where you can create like championships. You can create a wrestler, but you can create championships.
Uh-huh.
So I had like created like CWA championships and like created us as characters in the Nintendo 64 game. And I actually had done that too. I think I sent you screenshots. This was a long time ago.
Yes,
It was
you did.
but it was for the WWE 2K game. That's the one I sent you screenshots of like a long time
Mhm.
ago, where I started creating us like as our CWA wrestling gimmicks in the actual 2K. So I was actually thinking about waiting for 2K24 to be, you know, Xbox installable without paying for it and creating us as wrestling characters in 2K and then posted it on our Facebook page or whatever, put it like try to create something where it has like the three of us like in a background and make it like our background or whatever or do something fun like that. So like this whole trios thing just keeps popping in my head because there's trios championships out there now. So I think it's just kind of fun to throw it around there and talk about. Maybe those dastardly Wallies will try to challenge us, but I don't think it'll be a match. Those guys weren't that good anyway. Definitely not. Too short and too slow.
Oh man, that's funny. I'm trying to find those pictures. I can't remember which chat you sent it in.
Oh, dude, that was so long ago. I mean, we can move on to the world of professional wrestling
We should.
because I know it's going to take some time. And right now it's 11:25, and we all know when it comes to professional wrestling, Mr. Pat over here will like to engage in that conversation because he always likes to talk a good professional wrestling chat game.
Yeah, do it up there, Darth Pat. Go crazy.
Sure. I think I
I'm
might,
sorry, were you speaking to me?
I know I might need to like play an intro song for him to get himself going.
Well, so
Where do you want to start? Like, which promotion would you like to start with today?
let's just briefly talk about AEW in Australia. So apparently they didn't get their own ring shipped there, and they used a local indie ring that was maybe smaller than their normal ring
It
or
was
something.
smaller. That was I watched the show the next day. It legitimately, that was the first thing that caught my eye. I'm like, this ring is not the proper size. It's smaller. From what I read,
Fantastic. Good job.
From what I read, instead of the normal 20x20, they were using a 16x16. Hence why I think some of the moves in certain matches didn't seem to go as planned. Because you might not think about it, but losing 4 feet in each direction in a wrestling ring could be, you know, make it a little bit more challenging to pull off certain moves, which I felt
That's
like that was the case. And listen, I'm not sitting here looking for botches, but you can see when you think a mistake is happening or whatever. So there was a couple things that I did notice in each one of those matches. And I think it might have been had to do because of the ring. Maybe not. It is what it is. But yeah, they did not have the proper ring. I I will say this. I thought the show was good overall. I thought each match was good in its own way. Um, you know, the Death Riders match, listen, that tag match was uh, no DQ, no holds bar, whatever the fuck you want to call it. They were wrestling all over the place. So that
No
match
holds barred.
that match was it's not really a match you can grade. It's either you like them or you don't like those types of matches. The match was fine. Whatever. It did what I guess they needed to do, Um, the bad guys won. But all the other matches I thought overall were good. They were good wrestling matches. And they got what they needed to get out of those matches. I would say I would give the card maybe a B minus.
I know Meltzer's ratings for the show were just typical Meltzerific AEW stuff.
Of course.
I think he gave the opening match 5 stars. I
No,
listened to Cornette's review yesterday. I'm sure I'm going to shock you to say that it sounded like he pretty much hated it. So,
of course. Um,
it's
to
like that's
to
what I just come to expect. It's like I guess I wish there was like um he could be a slightly more complimentary because even for me, it's like just the constant uh disparaging of like pretty much almost all things AEW does get tiresome. But again, it's like when he explains why he didn't like it or why he didn't think it was good, you can see why. Like it's not just oh fucking fucking Kenny Olivier, fucking Cucamonga kids, and fuck these motherfuckers. It is a lot more than that, but still, it's just like there's got to be a balance between Meltzer saying it's the greatest thing ever and Cornette saying it's the worst thing ever.
yes. Do you
Yeah,
have
it lies
Meltzer's
in between.
ratings?
It's decent.
I saw Meltzer's ratings for them. If you want to go over them, you're more than welcome to.
I would love to hear Meltzer's superstar ratings for this because I am sure they are off the charts like everything AEW. Has he ever given AEW a bad rating on any matches?
Very rarely.
The worst rating I think I've seen him give to anything AEW related lately has been like in the 2.5 range. Which, if you go back and look at reviews from like Attitude Era shows, he gave decent matches 2.5 stars.
Mhm.
You know, like I'm saying like they were like world beating matches or anything like that, but they were like good, solid wrestling matches. Did what they were supposed to do. 2.5. Remember,
Yeah.
also again, it wasn't by any means a great wrestling match, but it was still one of the biggest spectacles in the history of wrestling. But he gave Rock Hogan at WrestleMania 3 stars. Even Cornette, when he watched that match a couple years ago on his channel, they did like a watch along. Cornette said, "Yeah, that's a 5 star match because they did exactly what they were supposed to do. They went with the crowd. They pivoted, very smartly." He said like there was one moment where they almost had their timing screwed up, but they corrected it right away. He said it was two guys who knew exactly what to do in the heat of the moment,
Played the
and
crowd.
yeah, and it's
Okay.
like and Cornette's not some
I had the
he,
ratings then.
he's not some Hogan fan, so it's like yeah. But
I had
anyway,
the ratings. So here we go. And this was the exact order of the matches too.
yeah.
Opening the show was Will Ospreay versus Kenny Omega, defeated Fletcher and Takashita.
Takeshita.
Takeshita. God, I'm horrible. I know his name. I'm just having a brain fart looking at it.
Well, you know what the problem is too, and again, I'm not saying that this is wrong, but it's like with some of the
Takeshita.
Japanese names, it's it's a little American in a way because, like, you know how there's like various words in American that are like, well, English, but like American English that are spelled the same way but pronounced
Not the
differently.
King's English.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there seems to be like Japanese names that I see spelled the same way, and yet I hear people
Pronounce them differently. Yeah.
pronounce them differently. Like,
Yeah.
um, Kensuke Sasaki, remember him from back in like the mid 90s and everything? I always heard people say his name as Kensuke, or Kensuke, like, which is basically how it's like spelled, and everything. But Shinsuke Nakamura, his name is spelled the same way in terms of like the last several letters. Obviously, the beginning is different, but they don't say Shinsuke, they say Shinsuke, So it's like, yeah, it's like I have to wait to hear somebody pronounce their name before I know how it's actually supposed to be said.
Before you try it.
Yeah.
So he gave that match 5 stars.
Five fucking stars.
I will say 4.25.
Okay. See, I know I can kind of be a tad more objective than either Meltzer or Cornette. So
Yeah, for me it was 4.25. You know, a couple things here and there that I noticed, but it didn't take away. It was a good match. It was a really good match. But my rating's a 4.25.
yeah, and I would expect those guys to put on a good match too. And like,
Oh, yeah.
if I had been watching the show, that would have been a match I would have very much wanted to see.
And I will say Kyle Fletcher did very well in this match. Like he is really getting himself to the next level as a professional wrestler. He's taking the ball and rolling with it.
Yeah. Now, who won the match?
Ospreay and Omega
Yeah.
won the
See,
match.
that's the thing that I guess kind of concerns me is that Fletcher is a guy you need to build. Takeshita is a guy you need to build. Osprey and Omega are just fine. So it's like it's kind of funny how like there's a complaint with AEW's booking right now and that the heels seem to be winning all the time. And yet the one match where I would say the heels definitely needed to win, the heels didn't win.
Agreed. Understand. Match 2, Mercedes Moné defeated Harley Cameron to retain the TBS championship. He gave that 3.5.
What I'm hearing about Harley a lot is that she's a much better entertainer than she is a wrestler.
She did fine in the match. She did fine as a wrestler. She has her moments. I think she's still growing in that aspect, but I think she did fine in the match for Mercedes. 3.5 stars. I would probably I will agree with that. I will say 3.5 as well. I don't think that one's pretty on point. And then we have the Jon Moxley versus Claudio Castagnoli defeated Jay White and Cope in the Brisbane Brawl. He gave that match 4 stars.
Real quickly, also for those of you listeners out there who maybe don't follow AEW and also have a functional brain, Cope is the name of the former Edge,
AKA Adam Copeland. Cope.
and I
So,
do emphasize
no offense
those who have a
to
functioning
Adam
brain
Copeland.
because anybody with a functioning brain would know to say you want to call yourselves Cope, you want to call yourself Cope. What are you, a fucking idiot?
He just, it's time to hang it up. Him and
He's
Christian.
he's just one more in a very long list of guys, ex-WWE guys who went to AEW and have embarrassed themselves.
things have not gone the way they have planned. So
Whatever he thought he was going to get out of this, he certainly hasn't. He broke his fucking leg, and now he's calling himself Cope, since obviously he can't call himself Edge.
Adam Copeland was fine too. So he gave this 4 stars. So here's my thing. I always find it challenging to rate matches of this manner. You know what I mean? Because
When there's the no rules matches.
it's no rules, and the thing about it is, it's not a true wrestling. I mean, if you're gonna grade it on not being a wrestling match, that's fine, because it's like something that can happen, because they're going outside the ring, they're using props, they're using stuff, shit can happen. Adam Copeland, or I'm just gonna say Edge jumped off, like he went to the tier up for the stands, and he got up and he jumped off onto Moxley or whatever. I'm like thinking to myself, don't break your other leg.
It's like, really, he just broke his leg like half a year ago, and he's doing shit like that.
It
Again,
wasn't-
functional brain not there.
like it wasn't that far up, but it's still it's just the point where it's like you never know. So I don't if you're gonna rate it on that type of match, and I try to rate it not as a true wrestling match, I guess 4 stars is fine. It wasn't a bad match. I might do 3 and 3/4, to be honest. They didn't do anything crazy. They did all normal common stuff in these types of matches. So I would probably give it 3 and 3/4. Not that far off. Um, Match number 4 was Okada versus Buddy Matthews. Okada won to retain the Continental Championship. He gave this 4 stars. I I I was torn between 4 and 4 1/4. Um, just because I don't think like Okada did fine. The match was good. I don't think people give enough credit to Buddy Matthews just because Buddy Matthews really doesn't have a true personality in pro wrestling. He's never one that been really talking the mic. I think people forget about him as like his wrestling skills. So his match with Okada was good. And come to find out, he wrestled that whole match with a high ankle sprain because he
Yeah, he
sprained his
said that he
ankle
sprained his ankle
when
coming
he
down to the ring.
so they showed it when it happened. So when he got to the top of the ring, he like did the jump over. And when he did it, it looked like there was a little indent in the corner of the mat and it kind of twisted his ankle. And you can see it there, and you can kind of see him oh shit, I just twisted my ankle. And he's kind of
Yeah.
like the way he's moving around. And I kind of noticed it when he entered, but I didn't know if it was like he hurt himself or was he was just like, just doing it to get himself ready. But I
So hey,
was
there is a possible consequence of having used a substandard ring.
yes, yes. So I mean, I'm not
You're
four
muted.
stars.
It's still remarkable to me that as a professional company, they reverted to using somebody else's ring because did they
Yeah.
forget their ring?
Well, that's just what it is. Like, no, nobody knows for sure. There was a rumor that he didn't take into account how long it would take to ship the ring. Um, which, if that's true, then once again goes to show what a horrible businessman he is,
Whoever's taking
or
care of
the
that
people who are
aspect.
supposed to be working for him.
Yeah.
Um, Cornette defended it by saying, "Look, if you can save money, that's a good sign of of doing business." But um, it sounds like this was not what the intended setup was. So it sounds like it's a stenank, so to speak,
Yeah.
on AEW's side here. So
So his rating for that match is not off. I would do 4 and 4/4. For the
the
final
very the
match,
very the very funny thing about that, just real quick, Cornette despises Okada because he says Okada's lazy. He says Okada doesn't want to work. He doesn't want to do anything. And that's something that I've seen when I've seen Okada. Now, of course, I have not seen any of the pay-per-view matches, so I can't say. But I really feel like Okada's basically just collecting a paycheck and coasting. He had a lot of praise for uh Buddy Matthews or whatever the fuck they're calling him now. I was about to say Buddy Murphy, but I remember that was his WWE name.
no,
He
yeah,
actually
Buddy
had a lot of
Matthews.
praise for Buddy Matthews and things that would have been like really good if they maybe had Buddy Matthews win. Um, but yeah.
I just not to sidetrack too much. I understand where people are coming from with Okada being in the US because it is a different Okada from the New Japan version I'm used to. I feel like they've toned down his in-ring stuff for whatever reason. Now, his matches overall in the past 2 months have been better than what they were when he first came to the US and AEW full time. So they are improving in regards to what he's doing in his matches, but it's still not the Okada I'm used to for whatever reason. Um, I'm not sure if this is a him thing or if this is a TK thing or
I mean,
somebody else,
it can
but
be a little bit of both, I think. I mean, I
you
can
know,
understand like them saying, "Hey, don't go all out to, preserve yourself and everything," but it's like if you're going to be constantly preserving him, then when does he go all out?
yeah, true, true. So the last match, Tony Storm defeated Mariah May to become the new women's champion. Um, he gave this 4.5 stars. Um, I'm more on 4 and 1/4. I wouldn't disagree with 4.5, but I was kind of more on 4 and 1/4. I think the reason I would do 4 1/4 in this match is because the last leg, let's use movie terms since, um, I would say the third act of this match, once again, was the too many false finishes using each other's finishers and using their own finishers to then end the match in a fucking roll up.
Yeah, when I heard them describing the ending, I was fucking flabbergasted.
Um, my biggest thing, and like I haven't seen Tony Storm in a little while, so I don't know how much she's improved. But the last time I saw Tony Storm, there was no way I was gonna that I would ever think that she would be in a 4 or more star match.
Yeah, she could
So
do it. She could do it. And the thing is too, like, I think Mariah May is good. I know people are like iffy on her. I've seen her in New Japan in New Japan. I've seen her in Stardom in some of the indie promotions in Japan. I think she's good. Um, and I think she's still getting used to doing I've seen improvement in her since she's come to AEW. And that's just getting used to doing American TV in a consistent basis compared to doing shows in Japan and pay-per-views in Japan where it's just done differently. But I'm a
yeah,
big fan of Mariah May. I think she's good.
Mariah Faye.
Mariah
Good Lord.
Faye. Mariah May. I think she's good. Absolutely. So, I mean, he's not too off on his score rating for this, but I'm definitely not. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not giving 5 stars to that tag match.
Yeah.
Unfortunately not.
So
And that's just him dick riding Ospreay and Omega,
yeah, I
honestly.
mean, so again, it's the eternal struggle, as it were. Now, I know that I saw the ratings for the show, the television ratings, and they cratered, as you might expect, due both to the lateness of the hour and the fact that, everybody, of course, switched off after the All-Star game. I heard, I did not see, and I did not bother to go verify because it's not that important, that that Meltzer was crowing about the fact that the opening tag match had over 1 million viewers. And it's like, dude, that was all left over from the NBA shit. And if you look at the quarter hour ratings with how quickly they tumbled, that's obvious what it was. So for him to be bragging about that again, it's just that's the shit that annoys me more than whatever he gives the star ratings. Because star ratings you can still say are generally subjective,
Well, of course,
But even
they
though
all
Meltzer
are.
has his obvious AEW bias, which he's demonstrated countless times since AEW opened, but when he's going to start bragging, oh, the Osprey and Omega tag match had over 1 million viewers, it's like, like Dynamite's
What, the first 5 minutes of the match, they had probably over 1 million viewers
right? That's
until
what it was.
all
I
the
think,
people still started trying to.
yeah.
I
And
mean,
if you look at like the line chart that the guy produces on WrestleNomics or whatever, it went, you know. So
look, Tony Storm and Mariah
he's
May could have been the first match, and they would have had over 1 million viewers, and it would have went down.
yeah. Now it's like Meltzer does shit like I think this past Wednesday's Dynamite overall ratings went down, like they lost several thousand viewers from the prior week, but the key demo rating went up 0.01. Knowing Meltzer, he will focus endlessly on that 0.01 increase as if that's like a portend of things to come when it's like they have no momentum. It's like there's not been a steady rise. It's been a roller. It's been at best, up and down and up and down and up and down, but they don't
Oh
really
yeah, it has been.
there's been no discernible increase. And again, it's like you rewind the clocks a year, they had a couple 100,000 more viewers than they do right now.
Mhm.
It's basically been all downhill for them since they aired the Punk footage in terms of the ratings. I know the ratings aren't everything, but they're a lot.
Oh,
And it's like,
they're worth 60% of everything in professional wrestling.
right. And I know they have their TV deal, and that's great. I'm glad that all these wrestlers are getting paid well. But what is TNT going to do in 2.5 years, however long it is now, when that TV deal is up, if these ratings are still what they are? Are they still actually going to think it's worth giving them all this money? Remains to be seen.
Mm. Yeah.
But I mean, I can't really imagine what they do. And of course, that's the other thing. It'll be like, oh, well, it beat everything else that was on except for NBA and NHL and Fox News. And it's like, is that good? I mean, I honestly don't know anymore. It's like this isn't, TV ratings are weird and everything, but it's like, and everybody's trying to speculate about what numbers they're doing on Max.
And those numbers, I can't find any numbers on that.
That's my point. WWE has released the numbers that like the Raw's doing on Netflix, and people are saying, "Oh, look how much they've fallen since the first episode." And I'm like, well, I'm not very surprised by that. But
No.
Tony Khan, remember he had that infamous tweet where he was like, "Oh, the only reason NXT went over a million is because they had Cena and Undertaker and whoever else was on that show." Do you really think Tony Khan wouldn't be bragging about how many people are watching on Max if the numbers were good?
Yeah. I'm
So.
curious I really want to know what the numbers are. And I'm not
Yeah, I
sure
just
why
want to
they're not
know. It's like
posted.
if good, bad, or otherwise. If they're good, shut me up, please. But I suspect the fact that you ain't saying anything about it means they ain't good.
Yeah. Question for you.
So,
Do you
Mhm.
think, I don't want to say the fall of AEW, but what's the proper word I can say use this for?
decline.
The decline of AEW happened when Cody left.
I think Cody leaving and then so soon
Was
going to WWE and being like a main thing right from the start hurt. Obviously, all the Punk shit hurt, no matter what they want to say. Um, the fact that they basically half their roster is ex WWE guys who were sometimes being allowed to, um I guess the best terminology would be to say they're overindulging on their own shit, and I think we know which two guys I'm mostly referring to there. uh doesn't help. I mean, it's like they who can you say is the big homegrown AEW star? The only guy that comes close to that is MJF, and he's been very cool for a while. He
Yep.
could be heating up again now, but he won worst feud of the year with the same guy 2 years in a row from Meltzer's readership. That should tell you something.
Yeah, that's
um
interesting.
I would say it's a culmination of a couple things. I do think that Cody leaving was kind of
Starting point.
the starting point because it brought a lot of things. In my personal opinion, I think what happened is it started to bring things to life as far like some of the behind the scenes things because we know Cody did not just leave because he's like, "Ooh, I'm getting this great opportunity at WWE." There was behind the scenes things that he was starting to not agree with TK and maybe some of the wrestlers and stuff like that. And then
Yeah,
you
there was
got
chatter about is he getting along with the Bucks and Omega?
right. And then you had CM Punk come into the company, another big name who if anybody who follows wrestling knows, he is going to speak his mind and he's not going to hold back because he's about the business. He wants the business to succeed. He wants to be successful himself. He wants others to be successful. So he's going to call out the BS. And then we saw what happened. And then that further deteriorated the AEW's professionalism in the business, and we got to see more behind the scenes BS that I'm sure happens in WWE
Yeah.
to an extent, maybe not to that extent, because that's not a tolerant in the WWE, but the fact that we are getting to see this, they try to come back later and make it look like Punk was the problem and it backfired on him, making it even worse for AEW. I think there's been a culmination of things that have come out from behind the scenes that we got to see, and now people have formed very strong opinions about either I love what AEW does or I think AEW is a pile of shit. There's not a lot in between anymore with it.
No.
Yeah,
Very
I
and
would
few.
say I'm in the in between because there are things that when I have the opportunity to see AEW, I like, and then there's things I'm like, what the hell is this? But I can also say the same thing about WWE. So it's not like I'm just picking on AEW. I do the same thing for WWE because the last PLE, the Royal Rumble, there was things I was like, what the F is going on here? Why are we doing this?
I think the thing too is with AEW and TK, it's the fact that we're going on 6 years of AEW, right? And through ups and downs, we it's the perception that we see that, you know, he's able to fix a couple small things, but overall, he hasn't been able to truly improve the company the way I think he thinks he has. Just because you're able to sign these free agents that are big name free agents doesn't mean it's going to improve your company.
Yeah.
What you do with the talent, what type of storylines you put in those talents, how you produce your shows is going to ultimately show if you're doing a good job or not. And unfortunately, people don't like it, but ratings is still a big part because if people aren't turning in, that means there's something wrong. So you have to take the good with the bad. I just don't, I still feel, I understand it's a new company and it's the world of professional wrestling. It's not easy, but I feel like he's not taking accountability on himself to really sit down and reflect to see what is working and what is not working to make this company even more successful than it is doing right now. Because this company should be more successful than what it is right now. And it's one of those things too where, you know, some of the former wrestlers that have wrestled for AEW say they love TK. He's a great person. He cares. But when you ask these people about the business side of TK, that's when they're like, yeah, he really still doesn't understand the business of professional wrestling.
He
And
thinks he can do everything and that he is always right, and those are bad combinations of things to be in most cases.
And
I like
it's
in listening to I'm just gonna call him Ricky Starks. I like his new name, Ricky Saints, by the way. But with that being
Your
said,
name is stupid.
I oh God, will you stop?
Ricky Saints just if it was Ricky Saint, fine. Ricky Saints is stupid.
I like Ricky
sounds like there's more
Saints.
than one of him.
That's fine. Who cares? Anyway, that's what I was trying to say.
Damn you, Pat.
Why'd they change his name? They didn't change Ethan Page's name.
Well, he wanted to change his name, I think so. But anyway, so just listening to him and some of the others that have left AEW, like they're trying not to be directly calling people out, but you can see that there's some background stuff. So like Ricky Starks made a comment about storylines where there was veterans that were poking their nose into his storylines that shouldn't have been. So he's like, there's one thing in regards to giving advice, but there's another thing when you're trying to dictate someone's storyline that you're not even involved in. Given, some opinion is one thing, but it seemed like people were trying to force their way into storylines when they really shouldn't be or it wasn't their place. And he is not the first one to say something in that matter because there are several others who are now not with the company who have also made that same type of comment. So, yes, there are things in WWE that still do not, you know, probably behind the scenes stuff that still happens, but not to the extent like it was when Vince McMahon was there. Triple H is definitely trying to run a more tighter ship, a more stern ship in regards to, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Giving the wrestlers freedom, but still teaching them at the same time. Still saying, hey, great, but let's do this, throwing ideas out there and working side by side, not having one side or the other. Um, the other thing too with AEW, I think their biggest mistake is, and they're falling into the realm of old WCW per se. They have too many ex WWE guys on that roster, and it's not young WWE guys either. it's it's very little, um, if you even want to put it in those terms. So I just think the WWE talent they're bringing over, yeah, there's some big names, but what have you done for me lately? It's kind of it, it, like every week when you watch that show, count how many WWE guys are on that show compared to actual original AEW guys.
Yeah, and it's like that applies to so many people, even like Tony Storm. She was in
Yeah,
WWE first, so obviously timeless Tony Storm was not in WWE, but still, it's like, yeah,
you
some
could
of your
say she's
roster is recycled WWE guys to one extent or another, whether it's Jericho, Moxley, Edge, Claudio, Christian, Tony Storm,
FTR.
Sasha, FTR,
Yeah, and I like
Buddy
FTR.
Matthews.
Yeah.
Um,
Ex
the,
Malachi Black.
yeah, the list goes on and on. So, I mean, now just I want to get this in here because this is to
Yes,
me
we are
this is
coming
like
up on
very,
our
very
time, sir.
yeah. To me this is very telling. Brian Alvarez said he gets complaints from people in AEW every single week about Tony Khan refusing to do production meetings. Thunder Rosa's awkward run-in on this week's Dynamite was cited as something that could have been prevented with a
Yes.
production meeting. Everybody was on a different page. Nobody knows how to explain what happened, and the babyface looked like an absolute idiot. Now, I don't know if I saw this part of the show because I tuned out of Dynamite once it got to a point where I knew everything that was still to come. I had no interest in seeing. I think that was maybe about three-quarters of the way into the show, but I also wasn't like looking at every single second. So I don't remember if I saw that, but I've heard about it.
Oh, I saw it. It
And
was not good.
right, it's like the last thing you want. Everybody knows that the first way that you lose the audience is by making your baby faces look like idiots. That's always a recipe for disaster. But again, it's the whole refusing to do production meetings. That terminology intrigues me in the sense of why? Why does he refuse to do production meetings? Is it he doesn't have the time, in which case he's not running his company right? Is it ego and that he assumes that the wrestlers will just be able to figure it out? Sometimes you do need to work things over to make sure everybody's on the same page. That's what led to the beginning of the fallout with Punk was when Adam Page went into business for himself and Punk didn't know it was coming. It's
Yep.
like if he had said to Punk ahead of time, "Hey, I want to go out here and say this about you," then Punk might have actually agreed to it, and there wouldn't have been a problem. Who knows? But so yeah, I don't get that. It's like WWE holds production meetings, and there's very few times where you can look at something and you go, "Oh wow, that was a total like they didn't know what the hell they were doing." Like messing up on a move, botches, as some people call them. That those things are going to happen, but it's like seeing that something obviously came off looking wrong or whatever, that's a whole nother thing. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But
It's you're just hearing it more and more. Now, is it true? We don't know, but it seems to be coming from multiple sources. So there has to be some validity to it at that point. And then listen, let's see. Next weekend we have Elimination Chamber. So
and now we have all intrigue for Elimination Chamber because I want your soul.
I know the final boss wants Cody Rhodes' soul. Will Cody Rhodes give up his soul to The Rock?
Look, I don't. Joe and I talked about this a little bit before we got on,
It's
before Jeremy was on,
lame.
but I again, the terminology I used was, and I exchanged text messages with AJ saying this, who was also confused by what happened. As we know, AJ is a huge Rock fan. But I just said, because of him doing this now, we are now forced to ask a whole lot of questions that did not need to be asked.
Correct.
Primarily, where the fuck are they going with this?
And
It's
this
because
is
on the surface, it feels like they're recycling the corporation, the authority. Rock said
yep.
at that post-show press conference, which I did not bother to watch, that he's not going to have a match with Cody.
Yeah. It's
if I were Triple H, I think I'd be pissed at him for saying that. It's like on one hand, it's like, okay, so we're
don't
setting the
spoil everything.
we're setting the expectations for the audience. No, this is not where it's going to go. But at the same time, you're basically saying, what's the point of this whole story?
Mhm.
Even Vince got in the ring when he was in the corporation. That was kind of the culmination of a lot of that stuff. Austin finally got his hands on him. With the authority, Triple H got back in the ring and got his comeuppance, dropping the title to Daniel Bryan and everything. So, losing to Daniel Bryan and then later losing the title back to Roman Reigns, but that didn't have the same impact. So
Yeah.
again, it's like it bothers me because he comes in like last minute. They have to change all these parts of the show for it. He's once again, he goes on these long ass rambling promos where he doesn't come to the point. Is he a face? Is he a heel? And again, he's acting like being on the board of directors means that he actually has power over the day-to-day operations of the company, and that's not the way boards of directors work. And so him being like, I'm on the board, that means I have like power and authority. No, it does. And all that really means is that you get to, vote to if you want to keep who the fucking CEO is.
Pretty much.
So it's like insulting to the audience, at least to me, in that aspect of it. So
We'll
I
see.
just think I think they're already setting themselves up for one disaster with Charlotte and Tiffany. I think that they're potentially, even though I think it ultimately will work, I think there's a potential disaster with Jay and Gunther. We still don't know what exactly they're going to do with Punk, Rollins, Roman, Drew, Priest, countless
A-
other guys.
And does that change? Does any of that change after what
Right.
Elimination
That's
Chamber
that's
because
yeah, that's
of
what
The
it is. So
Rock
that
and Cody?
so that was like the comment that was, on the rumor here yesterday, WWE talent were shocked when they learned about The Rock's appearance. It sounds like there's a lot more uncertainty about the WrestleMania card now, with one top star in the company joking that the show is at the mercy of Dwayne. And that's exactly what has happened now.
Yeah.
So, and then the other fundamental thing that really about that segment that I think really sucked. All right, Cody being confused at what Rock was saying, and he's like, what do you mean? You want the title?" And then Rock comes back with, "No, I want your soul." And then, like when Rock like goes to leave and everything, they have the camera on Cody, and he's got that look on his face that says, "I don't know where I am right now." He looked so pathetic.
Yeah.
So
It
you
was
just
meant
made
to
your
be.
main champion once again look like an idiot.
Look confused.
So
He's probably wondering, why am I in this storyline? Why is this old fart bringing himself back into the picture?
well,
No.
yeah, he's
So
also
let me.
probably. I mean, and they referred to it in the promo, but Cody's probably saying, "Didn't I go through this shit last year?"
So here's my thing with that. So as a huge rock fan, always have been, um, I am at a point now, and I get this way with any wrestler, whether I'm a fan or not a fan. I do not need to see you. I do not need to hear you at some point in time. I've never been a big fan of them bringing back during the Royal Rumble, bringing back um, the Legends guys because they're not winning, so they're just in there for a crowd pop. Um, I don't need to see The Rock. I'm actually kind of sick of seeing The Rock. Because he's been in so many damn movies. He has so much social media presence. Like if you're on anything, you can almost find The Rock on it. Like it's just like it's too much. So if he's not going to be in a wrestling match, I really, really do not need to see you on TV in WWE fashion. And if he is going to be in a wrestling match, fine. Then actually say that you're going to be in a match. Don't say I want your soul and then go into the press conference and be like, yeah, no, we're not alluding to a match or anything like that. He's like, he just the final boss wants his soul. How he's going to get his soul, it's like, what the hell is with the cryptic message? Like, either do a match or don't do a match. Don't come out and just make your presence felt because you need an ego boost. Like, and I really think that at this point in time, that's what Dwayne Johnson needs is an ego boost to keep himself, make himself feel relevant in the wrestling world because, let's be honest, his movies have not done well.
Certain ones, correct.
He's on a downswing right now in terms of his
Yeah.
movies because of all the DC Black Adam conundrum, if you will. Red One didn't do
I liked
great.
Red One, but I didn't necessarily
So did
like
I.
Red One for The Rock. I liked Chris Evans, and I liked damn it, I can't think of his name. The guy that played Santa.
J.K. Simmons, who's
J.K.
kind
Simmons.
of barely in the movie, unfortunately.
Right.
But my point there is that from a business perspective, it's not great because it cost a huge amount of money and it did not make that much back at the box
Right.
office. So
Mhm.
so again, it was like, and again, all the stories that broke, as far as like I said, the piss bottles and the keeping people waiting on set and just like the diva attitude, it's like I think he is so far up his own ass that his head came back out the top. It just, to me, his star was falling. He needed WWE. WWE didn't need him, but WWE
Correct.
gave him everything.
Mhm.
They gave him the rights to his name and all the likenesses stuff and the footage, and they gave him a seat on the fucking board and everything. And it's just like, I just still don't understand why. I think WWE would be doing fine without him.
Oh, they would be 100%. But
So, all right. Shall we make that our final point for the night? Shitting on The
Yeah,
Rock.
because I could go ranting off on Dwayne for a long time, and eventually it'll just get me unnecessarily angry. Because I mean, there's still a big "we'll see" to all this, and by the next
It
time
is.
that we're doing a show and everything, we'll have seen the Elimination Chamber and see what happens, and
maybe
so
we'll have a clearer picture by next Sunday.
so we'll see what happens. I mean, we're gonna know who's gonna have won the Elimination Chamber matches for one thing, and then we'll see whatever happens between Cody and Dwayne and what have you, and
Yep. We'll
Yep.
go from there. We'll
Yep.
see what happens.
mm-hmm.
The shitty show it might be. Take us away, Jeremy.
All right. Well, we want to say thank you to all our wonderful fans, all three of them. We appreciate you very, very much. And we want to thank everybody for watching because we do, while we do this to entertain ourselves, hopefully we're entertaining you because that's, the whole purpose of this is to vent and talk about subjects that maybe you guys like, that we like talking about. So thanks once again for all that you guys do in keeping us in your thoughts. We'll keep you in our thoughts, our deep, deep thoughts. I don't know where I'm going with that. But anyways, thanks for watching. Have a good one. And we hope you finished with us.